Hello, everyone, and a good morning from Southern California. Good afternoon to where you're at. It's nice to see you. It's nice to be seen. For those that don't know me, I am Andy Fankhauser, CEO and founder of Aqua Luxury Consulting. For those that do know me, it's a pleasure to know you too. Hope you've been well. I know we've been off this for a little bit. Some things have changed, so I had to go back and tweak a couple of things, but I wanted to bring this back here today because a lot has come to my mind here recently, especially in the content creation field, industry, whatever else, that you probably can't turn on Instagram these days and not see some sort of, hey, I am coach and I make six figures a month and I am not gatekeeping anything, click below to find out how I do it. Or I discovered the best algorithm to get you the most viewers and likes and followers, click below, right? And hey, get rich quick, come here and I will help you make 5 figures in 5 weeks, whatever. Look, that's all fine, well and good. Like I'm really happy for all those people out there who are making money hand over fist, and it's probably taking them quite some time to get to that point. Years, 10 years, whatever it happens to be, and that's great. And I know we have to make money these days, and I know we have bills to pay and family support and our lifestyle that we've enjoyed and so on and so forth. But, and here's the big but. Like, the higher you build your castle, the further it's going to fall if you're not setting it up correctly. Okay? It's a house of cards, guys. Okay? If you are not establishing your business from day one on solid foundations, trench lines in the sand, plateaus of stability, whatever it happens to be. And this is not just making sure your internet stays on by paying its bills, but I'm talking operationally, financially, managerially, the whole bit. It's not going to last very long or be in a position to recover should something happen in your life. Personal crisis, whatever. Pandemic. Had one of those a couple years back, and a lot of people didn't do so well through that. Some people thrived, which is awesome, but not everybody did really, really well. Okay? So I'm bringing this back, and we're going to go through my infamous Probate Proof Your Life and Business workshop here today, just for Facebook. And I posted, and you're welcome, my entire workshop worksheet on my Facebook page. Just Andy's page, right? I haven't set up an Aqua Luxury Consulting yet, but I will. For those of you who are looking up Aqua Luxury, you're probably getting directed to Aqua Luxury Systems, which is also mine. And that is a company that I'm setting up that actually has to do with water. It's a luxury and in-home medical grade water system, which I can have another day in the explanation and talk about that too as well. But for me and my family, I like drinking the best. That's just me. And when it comes to water, well, Aqua Luxury Systems is where it is. For this point, for the consulting, Aqua Luxury Consulting, not so much that has to do with directly water, but I like to think I provide to you the water that you need so you can achieve the water you need in life and business so you can achieve the luxury that you want in life and business. See the correlation? So, with that said, we are going to hop into the Probate Proof Your Life and Business workshop. And I'm going to point out a lot of things for my sole proprietor friends out there, and I know who you are, and good luck, and God bless you, and everything you do, your passions, your dreams, all that, right? You have a 9 to 5, and then you have a 5 to 9. So as that happens, may the Lord be with you. Before we get into that, as I always do, Big full disclaimer, this is not legal advice whatsoever. In any way, shape, or form, I am not a lawyer, don't want to be one, don't pretend to be one, didn't go to school for it, didn't pay the money for it, not one, therefore not legal advice. However, this is a very, very honest preview, or excuse me, post view, I guess for lack of a better word, experience of what I did as a banker through some of the worst economic and frankly pandemic situations we as a nation, as a world has ever seen. That led me to what I do today because I feel very, very strongly that not too many people, respectfully, or business owners also respectfully, are operating their business in a way to answer and to survive the next crisis, whether it's personal, business, or global, right? So as we get into this, I'll pull out some real-world case studies, examples, and so on. So drop in wherever you want. Always good to see you, and let's get it started. So section 1, and this is going to go again off of the post I made on my Facebook page, and I got the form right here too as well. Self-assessment. Where are you today? What are you doing? How are you doing it? How are you feeling? Doing all right? You hanging in there? You getting by? You working a job that you don't want to work at anymore? Thankful for a job that you have, maybe. But where are you at today that is leading you to where you want to be, right? What is it that you're putting away, retirement-wise, building up a legacy, whatever it is that you have and that you're doing today that's going to get you to your end game, right? I used the analogy a couple weeks ago that, hey, if you're taking a trip, whether that's to the local grocery store or go see the in-laws that's 6 states away, you pretty much have to plan it out. Now, yes, I get it, map app, you put it in, boom, done, you follow the directions, so on and so forth. But back in the day, when we didn't have a map app, there was MapQuest, and this big thing that just folded up into your glove compartment called a map. And you had to look and guide and so on and so forth. And if you missed a turn or an exit, it took you an hour or so off, right? So you pre-plan where everything goes to your turn. As you as an individual and you as a business owner, what's going on today? What do you have? What's on the line? What do you do on a daily basis? What's your business operation? What's your service, product, or whatever? Okay, what are you doing today? Okay, where are you at? How much debt do you have? How much revenue do you have? Profits, so on, marketplace, assets, liabilities, you get the idea. As this is kind of an overview, we'll go through them kind of pretty quick, because guess what? I have an appointment here soon. Do you have a will or trust that names who inherits your personal and business assets? Just got off a phone call with a very nice woman who owns a business that helps people reclaim their loved ones who pass away overseas, right? So if you're on a trip and you are not anywhere near home, you're overseas in our country, her services helps simplify the process of bringing your loved one's body back home, right? So she has a business. We got talking, what is it consists of? Is it a sole prop, LLC, S Corp? Who else is on it? Does anyone know what she's doing? Because if something happens to her and she's mid-journey, mid-process, mid-contract with helping a client do this, and suddenly she goes down, incapacitated or worse, is someone else in the space or in a circle of trust that she can pass it along to, so on, right? Do you have a power of attorney for someone to act on your behalf if you're incapacitated? We'll get into that later, but it's essentially a fiduciary. Do you have someone that is speaking for you when you can't? That's taking care of your finances when you can't? Are your personal and business accounts set up to bypass probate or court intervention? Essentially what this whole workshop is about, guys. A lot of people, and respectfully again, a lot of business owners don't think about the what ifs or when ifs rather of when something goes sideways. When you can't and no longer, well, frankly, no longer here, and you have more than a handful of assets, of liabilities that have to be closed down, shut down, or whatever have you, what is stopping from all that going to a court system who signs a complete stranger to divvy up as he or she sees fit when you have family members and loved ones who, by all rights, have access or need access to those assets so they can sell them off and do what needs to be done? Because if you don't, it goes to court, man. Have you created a succession or continuity plan for your business? Again, if you can't run your business, who is? And I'm not just talking death, incapacitation of some kind, crisis of some kind, losing a loved one of some kind that completely stops the world as you know it, and you have to address that concern, and you can't run your business anymore. Right? I've heard it time and again. Hey, this happened and I had to step away from my business that was making six figures to address this for a month or two, and now it's making $6 or whatever. Who can you hand it off with? If something happened to you tomorrow, with your family or business partner know what to do? Again, pretty much what was said above is, as a business owner, just for the sake of customer service, to keep your customers going, to keep your product going, your service going, to keep your assets alive, whatever else, from everything from a utility truck to a rental property. Who knows what to do with those things if you can't? If you're the only one guiding those things and you go down, it's just, you can't just, he's not here and I don't know what to do, so I'm just not going to do anything. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay? So, section 2, if you're following along at home, know the risks. What happens without a plan? Consequences. Kind of a real thing in life, guys. Right? You don't follow the rules, you tend to get in trouble. Break the law, you tend to go to jail. Don't set up operational trench lines and fallback contingency plans. Stuff is going to get really bad really quick. Okay? Court-ordered asset freeze. If no one's in charge, the state takes over. You have to, for those that don't, you should. You have to register your business with the state. Whether that's a sole prop and you go to the local chamber of commerce and you register it and you pay for the little blurb in the local newspaper, and hey, that's great. To, you set up your LLC and S Corp with the state as well, and you go through that whole process, which for every state there are fees. And they can be significant. $800 here in California for an LLC per year, people. Per year. Delayed payroll or business closure. If you have people, which if you're a business, typically LLC or anything else, and you have either 1099s or actually payroll itself, and you're the only authorized person to pay that payroll, you have a problem if you go down. Okay? Hey, and it's set up automatically. If I go down or get sick or whatever, they're still going to get paid. Hey, great. Are you sure about that? If you're a contractor and you hire people 1099 and you don't get paid to the end of the project, which means they don't get paid to the end of the project, and you go down and you can't sign off on the project being done, no one gets paid. That's a problem. Inherited disputes between families or partners. I've said it before and I'll say it again. My God in heaven, do I have stories. Do you have anybody have anyone that they don't get along with in their family, black sheep uncle, cousin, somebody, whatever, right? And then they come out of the woodwork when suddenly Another family member passes away, and the blood in the water is that there's 6-7 figures that's going to be distributed out, and suddenly they come out for their fair share, but no one's talked to them in 5+ years, whatever. You get the idea. This could create huge rifts, if there isn't already, in family dynamic. And frankly, I've seen it before. Family members have sued other family members. Hopefully for you, it doesn't go that far, but without the lack of communication, just to get through the process, guys. I'm not saying you have to be buddy-buddy for the rest of your lives, but just to get through through the process, and everyone has the same expectation of what's going to happen, who gets what and how much and whatever else. Talk. Jane, this is John. Joe died. Your cut is $25K. Sending you a check. You have to sign for it. Have a good day. Not too hard. But good luck to you if you have to do worse than that. Guardianship hearings for minor children and dependents. So business owners, quite a few of them, have what? A family. And that family is dependent upon that business owner and that business to be what? Successful, profitable, revenue generating, whatever have you, right? But as a parent, myself, having 3 kids, some of you are here watching have kids of your own, you have minors, you have children that depend on you, not just monetarily, but for a lot of other things in life. So if you're not here and your kids are still minors, what's the play to make sure they're taken care of? Forget life insurance for a second, which I'll preach that all day long and die on that hill, because personally I think that as a parent you should. But just for the sake of leaving them to somebody who will guide them hopefully through the best choices in life, what you got going on? Public exposures of your financial matters. So, a little fun here, but the vast majority of us, sole proprietors, LLC owners, S corps, not small business, but your business, that sort of thing. You're probably not going to be on the 5 o'clock news or the front page of a magazine if something goes sideways, right? You mess up, one of your books, probably not going to be on the cover of Newsweek. Unlike some other recent, in the last month or so, events, let's just say, that have pretty much ruined a lot of people in their careers. But for you and I, we're probably pretty safe from that, I think. Court-appointed strangers making decisions. This goes back to the court-ordered freeze and essentially state appropriation and takeover. You're no longer in charge. None of your loved ones are in charge. No one can make a call except for the court system and him or her who makes a decision within their best efforts and guidance. But it's still their call, no one else's. So everything you've built, you've bought, you've invested in, you've blood, sweat, and teared into, wherever else, if you are not prepared, the state will take it and they will divvy up as they see fit. And then loss of control over business operations. If you are not running the ship, it will not run the right way. If your customer service and your pride and joy is on your customer service and you're not around to maintain that customer service, that's a problem. If you can make macaroons like macaroons have never been made before, right? You could present them to the queen, king, president, and they would be top layer. If suddenly you couldn't make those macaroons and it was left to somebody else to make, 1, would they have the recipe? 2, would they be able to follow it? And 3, would it still be the same quality if it didn't come from you? Maybe, but that's still a maybe. So that's what you have to think about. Who can do it as well as I can? A lot of us business owners say no one else. But in the reality that is life, you have to think about that. Who else can handle it if you can't? So, call to action. Worst case scenario you want to avoid. What would you not want to have happen in the worst way? Okay. Action planning, court-proof your life and business. So, and again, this isn't legal advice in any way, shape, or form. I can't prevent somebody from suing you should something happen. That's not what this is about. But it's more of a structured, very highly recommended suggestions on what to do to keep your business and life as out of the court system as possible. Okay. So structure your business for protection. So here's where we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this sort of thing. All right. So we are going to describe kind of each different business entity, and it might apply to you. It might not. And now I'll give you some examples of why it should. But there's a sole proprietor, which is the vast majority of my clients, LLC, S corp, partnership, LLCP, I believe, and so on. There's like 3 or 4 more, but the common ones are sole prop, LLC, S corp, and then C corp is mainly nonprofits and that sort of thing. All right, so here we go. Say you're a sole proprietor. You are your business, or your business is you. If you are John Smith and you provide Smith's I don't know, Smith Services, right? John Smith with Smith Services, right? Whoever the services is. DBA, doing business as, okay? You typically, and you should, have to go down to your local Chamber of Commerce, register the business, saying, hey, I am running this in your city, in your state, I want to establish myself. You pay wherever that fee is, and they instruct you, depending on where you're watching here in Southern California, they instruct you to pay for a local blurb in the newspaper, right? $40, $50, whatever it happens to be. Kind of an announcement to the world and to your community. Hey, this is what I do. I'm John Smith, and I do Smith Services, right? Pretty straightforward. So now you're John Smith and you do Smith Services, and you go and you start running your business as you see fit. Typically that business is under your social security number. You can set up an EIN number, an employee identification number. You have to go through that, and it basically gives you a tax ID number for your business that you can file in its own way, but the vast majority of people use their social. Frankly, it's just a little bit easier that way. I would probably say and dare to say a lot of the content creators I see on Instagram and TikTok and so on are sole proprietors as well. Hey, come to me. I can show you how to make 6 figures in 6 weeks. Come to me. I'll bring more followers to you. I'll help you revolutionize your LinkedIn, your Instagram. I'm the best social media manager around, whatever. I'd be willing to bet the vast majority of them are sole proprietorships, right? They're your business to business to them. The problem, and I'm going to jump around here a little bit, and I'm going to kind of start at the back end and work forward. If you're a sole proprietor and you have balances in your business account, which you should have a business account, not a personal account, and there's reasons for that, which I'll get to. If you have balances in your business account as a sole proprietor and that account number is under your social, which again typically is, those balances do not automatically go to your family if no one else is on the account. People, trust me on this. If it's just you, you're the owner and only signer on that account, those balances will go to your estate. If you have 10 grand, and the lady I talked to earlier, I told this to, if you have 10 grand, let's say, in your account, all the hairs, right? Good times. And you are no longer here. The 10 grand by the bank, typically, and I'd be willing to bet money on this, will write the balances of the account to the estate of you. In this case, John Smith. The check will read the estate of John Smith, meaning that your executor or whoever's taking over your stuff will then have to open an estate account. Depending upon also the bank, there could be up to probably 45 days that you have to wait until you can access those funds, because no one else is designated to be there, before you can do anything with it. 45 days, most cases. Look it up. You can go to your bank and ask about it, but they have to process the death certificate. They have to wait for, basically for the account to zero out. Any incoming or outgoing, which I'll get to that too, holy cow. But you have to wait till that happens. And that's money that you need to pay for the funerals or wherever else. But anyways, a new estate account of John Smith is opened, and that serves as the melting pot for everything else that John Smith owns that needs to be sold off and so on, so they could all be accumulated and then divvied up to family members and whoever have you. Okay? It's just not, they just don't cut a check to Jane Smith, to you, to whatever. It doesn't work that way. Okay? So now let's take a step back from that. If you are the only person on the account, again, to reference some of the above points, and no one else knows what your business is doing, no one else can run the business while you either A, recover, or B, they can close it out and tie off the loose ends with your clients, with your products, inventory, and so on. Again, it's just good customer service, so letting your customers know that, hey, John Smith isn't here anymore. He passed away, 2 weeks ago. I am his wife, cousin, brother, sister, whatever. Please, respect this time as we mourn, and we will be addressing your business needs in the near future. Thank you. Right? If you make let me just digress here for a second. If you make a product, if you make a cake pop, if you make a cake, if you do something, a plumber, whatever, and you have a contract to finish that particular order, and you do not, how are you going to have that communicated to your customer or have it finished if you don't have somebody that knows what you're doing? Ergo, a signer on it, which we'll get to in a little bit as well. Okay? So, to go back to the point I had in the beginning, is that, hey, all these people and all these content creators that say, I can get you to 10,000 followers and open up this income stream and show you how I make 6 figures a month, and, click below and come to my workshop. And I'm like, man, great. Hey, if you found the golden key to prosperity and good fortune, fantastic. God's blessed you. But if you can't figure out a way to maintain, sustain, or protect it from life, or those when ifs or what ifs, it doesn't do any good. It doesn't. You're actively signing up your loved ones, your families, your partners, everyone else to just a huge amount of misery, frustration, agony, just all kinds of stuff that if you don't step up and do this, it's not gonna be good. And frankly, on top of all that, a lot of the times, if you're an LLC, sole prop, whatever, S corp, so on, there's taxes to be paid. Taxes amounts that, if you talk to a good CPA or someone like me, there's ways to protect a lot of those funds so it doesn't go to the feds in the state. It goes to those that you love. so they can have the life you wanted them to have if you were around. Guys, come on. Operating agreement bylaws include succession clauses. Please. Again, I told the lady I talked to earlier, I was like, look, whoever's on your accounts, and there was someone, do they know what you're doing? Do they have any idea, the clients that you talk to, where your contracts are, so on and so forth, right? Clearly, I'm going to keep doing this for the next 20 minutes. Do they have an idea of what your operations are? How long it takes from initial contact of the client to conclusion of the deal, do they know? Is there an Excel file of, started, mid-completion, completed, follow-up? I told the lady, it's like, look, it doesn't have to be crazy complicated. You could just write it out on the paper, type it up in a Word document, and says, hey, person on the account, something happens to me and I can't do this anymore, and it suddenly pops up and something randomly happens, I can't do this. Here is my instructions of where to go, who to talk to, who to pass my book of business along to, whether you're a one woman, one man sole proprietorship or someone who owns, significant amounts of business assets, properties, employees, and so on. Here's what to do. Doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be there. Okay? And then you name the backup business manager or executive. Yes, significant other, spouse, friend, brother, someone who does the same thing that you do. Or a similar thing. Or knows what it takes to make a cake pop. or a cake or whatever. It's that fallback on, okay, yep, I can't do this anymore. I broke my arm, got in a car accident, whatever. I'm not even talking that. Random stuff that happens all the time that humbles us because, we're frankly just top of the world in our own heads. That's suddenly, hey, I can't do this anymore. Can someone please do this for me, or let them know? Okay? So who takes over your business in an emergency? Add POD, TOD, and beneficiary designations. On a business account, let me just clarify this really, really quickly. On a business account, I'd be, again, willing to bet, there is not a POD, a payee on death designation. Doesn't work like that because it's a business, it's an entity. It can continue technically after the owner is gone. Now, if it's a sole prop, not so much, but LLCs and so on, yes. So there's not typically someone that you can put as beneficiaries who inherits all these funds and so on and so forth. Even in the case of sole proprietorship, which I said earlier, it goes to your estate if no one else is on it. Okay? If you put a signer, so let's say you're an LLC for a second. Signer, POD, again, not payee on death, payable on death, whatever, is not on an LLC. So you put someone else as a signer. They can sign checks, make deposits, withdrawals, which I'll get to in a little bit, and so on. Most banks designated that person as the next officer in charge because there isn't anybody else. Therefore, that person kind of gets promoted to owner and then can do with it whatever they want. Hopefully follow your directions on closing it out and so on. Boy, I'm sorry, just got a text message. If that is a situation that you need to do, please take a lot of consideration of who you want to put on it. Why? As a signer on a business account, and maybe depending on your bank, you can put limitations of what they can and can't do. Vast majority of the time, that signer has full access to everything that's in that account. Meaning, if you and that signer get into a little scuffle and ruffle, and they go to that local bank and say, hey, I need the whole 100K out of this business account, that bank is going to give it to them. Because you gave them that authority. Think about it, okay? Beneficiaries, add them where possible. Now, not just personal accounts and savings and checking and CDs and so on and so forth. Investments, brokerage, bonds. The TOD, the transfer on death, in my experience, has been on like car titles. I think there's a section on your title that says who you want to pass it on in case it happens, and that person takes, you know, your death certificate and the title down to the local DMV. They convert it to you, boom, done. Probably not that quick, but a lot quicker than if you just took the title down. And you have to prove to the DMV that you're the only and rightful inheritor of your uncle's 1957 Chevy. Whatever, right? So put them down where possible, people. That in itself, and it's free, is probably the best way to avoid probate by and large. Okay? Now, on the side note, because they have changed it here in California, I think it's over 200,000 now, 215, don't quote me. But at the time of COVID, when I had to have these conversations with people, if the balances in the account, which, believe it or not, here in Orange County, they were typically above, it was 165,550. That was the probate level. If it was above that level, there was nothing I could do for them if there was no beneficiaries on the account. We had a process that kicked it out automatically out to the court system, and I'd say, hey, I'm so sorry. This is how this works. Here's a number for a probate lawyer or wherever I did at the time. God bless you. You know, hopefully I'll see you in 18 months. Okay, don't let that happen, guys. Look up, call of action. Look up what your probate level in your state is. See what that is, okay? The next one, build core legal and medical documents, will, trust, power of attorney, health directive. You get the idea. Will, typically, last will and testament, typically something that you put together for all the things that happen after you're not here anymore. Who gets what? The china, the dog, the wedding dress, the so on, right? Pretty straightforward. Not too hard. Probably can get by with, you know, a few $100 at the local lawyer. Please consult one, and I'll get to that in a second. Trust, on the other hand, is something that you can create today, tomorrow, hopefully sooner than later, and it stands as a living, breathing document that enforces what you want done with your stuff, your assets, your business, your monies, your whatever, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. This is what you wanted, this is what it is, it's a legal binding document, period, the end, and if you have a problem with it, well, you know, I'm buried at 5th and 6th, third row back from the left, 6 feet under. Come talk to me. Not going to happen. Now, there's revocable and irrevocable. Revocable, basically, you can change who you want. If your successor trustee suddenly becomes someone that you don't want anymore, you can change it. Fun fact, whoever your successor trustee is, you don't have to tell them. Ideally, I would encourage you to, please, my God, please, but you don't have to tell them. Which makes things interesting, because if the person you choose suddenly is met with a delivery of a trust, which they didn't know you had passed away, and suddenly they're inheritant of a few rental properties, a business, maybe multiple businesses, a few $1 million in assets, manufacturing plant, whatever, and they're in the middle of their own personal dumpster fire, that could be a problem. And depending on your trust, and again, not legal advice, you can ask your lawyer, and which I encourage you to, there could be clauses where they could decline to do that if you wanted it to. If you didn't think that they were capable of taking care of what you had built blood, sweat, and tears into, and they don't want to do it when that time comes where they should, might be a reason to find somebody else. Okay? Power of attorney. So this is a fun one. So power of attorney typically acts as like a manager, fiduciary, someone who acts on your behalf if you are not capable of doing so. You know, pay your bills, access your bank accounts, drive your, maybe drive your car, whatever is in the confinements or the parameters of that power of attorney, they have to do. Now, most banks provide one that only applies to the accounts that you want them to be power of attorney over, so you don't have to turn over everything. So let me example this out, case study. So if I go overseas, take the family, we go all over Europe, right? Take the train, 12 countries, 12 weeks, whatever. And I assign you as power of attorney for my accounts, 4 of the 6 accounts that I have, whatever, right? And say, hey, Michael, Sharon, Jennifer, I'm going to be gone for 12 weeks with the family. We're going to crisscross Europe. I need you to handle my affairs and maybe, pay my bills and cut a few checks and make sure things stay operational while I'm overseas. I'd appreciate it. Thanks so much. Well, most power of attorneys are all-encompassing. Again, let's say for the sake of argument, just for the accounts that you have, meaning that there's not typically a limitation that you can put on them. They have to do what they have to do on your behalf. So, again, if I give you power of attorney over 4 of my 6 accounts, full scale, no limitations whatsoever, and let's say it's around the holidays, and you need a little extra to maybe up the gift quality or the gift amount for your family, and you dive into my accounts, technically I've given you the permission to do so. And there's nothing I can do about it. Because I signed the paperwork, you signed the paperwork, that was typically notarized, and now you can do whatever you want with my accounts. So when you pick a power of attorney, people, make sure it's someone that you trust. Make sure it's someone that knows what it is. Okay? Now, when I come back, let's say, again, you do a great job, keep the bills paid, everything works out, I come back, I can actually remove that power of attorney and everything goes back to normal. I thank you for helping me out, appreciate you, thanks so much. Now, the caveat here is, and this does happen, is if I die while traveling, the power of attorney I've given you only is enforceable while I am still alive. It ends if I die. So if I die on a Tuesday, and you go in and do whatever you need to do on my behalf on a Wednesday, you are technically violating your authority. Your authority ended on Tuesday, whether you know it or not. Therefore, and here's the big part, anything that you do on my behalf is null and void. If you write checks, do whatever, pay bills, so on, they are technically not valid because your authority wasn't valid because I died. And if I died, then I have a trust that is enforced and maybe somebody else is in charge of doing whatever needs to be done at that point in time. Okay? Buy-sell agreements. We're going to go a little bit quicker here because I got something they got to do. Buy-sell agreements This really pertains to partnerships or group ownerships, a couple of people all chipping in, that sort of thing. You have a percentage of the business, you do the marketing, you do the selling, whatever, operations, hiring, so on and so forth, right? This has to be a little bit more interesting because the portion of the business that you own needs to have some sort of monetary value. What is it that you own that you can sell off, or your family sells off to the other partners, so that they are monetarily compensated for, again, your absence? If you own 30% of the business and the business is $1 million business, just for a nice round number, your family would hopefully get somewhere between 3 to 350K bought out from the other partners, or however that situation and that contract that you have is set up. But it needs to be somewhere of that kind. Okay, keep that in mind. Digital asset authorization. Now, in the world of fintech these days, guys, Venmo and PayPal and all the other ones that they're out there, Apple Pay, whatever. To my knowledge, a lot of those fintech platforms do not have a beneficiary designation available as well. So now what do you do? If your Venmo is sitting on a few hundred or a few $1,000s, right, that hasn't been transferred over to a business account or an account sometime, and you don't have the access to those accounts, which is one, a problem. But two, now you have to get access to those accounts to put it into the melting pot account so everything can be distributed. One, how do you get into those? And two, if there's not a designation for whoever can get into it, what happens? Don't take my word for it, grain of salt sort of thing. But do I think the FBI is going to come after you for a couple $100 in a deceased person's Venmo account? Probably not, but it still doesn't make it legal. Think about it. Call of action, name of attorney and plain service I will contact. Before I get to the next section here, everything I just said in that section, please do not whatsoever DIY it. Don't do it. Don't DIY a trust, a will. Don't do that. There are people out there that have gone to school, trained, got degrees, information. They know what to look for, what to ask about, and so on, backwards and forwards, that if you did it yourself and you missed something, it could create more problems than solutions. So please don't DIY it. If you don't have someone that does trust and so on, come to me, find me. I will happily put you in touch with somebody. Prices are very reasonable, and they'd be happy to help, but just don't DIY that thing, okay? Assign trusted access strategically. Authorize someone via a POA or trust. Again, you got to be careful of who you put on your accounts, guys. You just do. If you put someone as a signer, yes, they have full access to the account if your bank doesn't provide some sort of limitation. If they are a joint owner in an account, they also have access. That's typically in a personal account. Power of attorney, same idea. Just explained it. You give them full access to do what they need to do on your behalf while you can't. And then, yes, most of the time it is revocable. You can come back and pull it. If you're overseas, it's very hard to pull a power of attorney. Okay? Review the risk of joint ownerships. What's it mean when I put someone on an account? And what are the consequences? Communicated access instructions. It doesn't just have to be accounts. It can be your CRM, your client list, your whatever. If it's password protected, if it's, thumbprint protected, whatever. If you're not here and you still have a problem with people accessing files and information, and you have much bigger problems than just accounting and your business operations. Not going to go there. Store and communicate clearly. Documents are stored in a safe and secure place. Your CRM, again, if it's under lock and key, password protected, just make sure it's there. Have that letter of continued operation or closure nearby. Who knows what to do when this happens, when that happens. Not if, when. Okay? Key people know how to access them. I think we covered that. Continuity plan is shared with stakeholders. If it's more than just you, if you're partnered or whatever else, do you and your partner know what to do or how to do it? Like, is there a red folder somewhere, right? The red folder, the operations folder, what to do in the case of emergencies, etc. and so on. Make one, and I can help with that too. I think we PayPal, Stripe, Shopify, Mercury, crypto wallets. Crypto's interesting. A lot of people are jumping into that bandwagon these days. What is that process looking like? Because they could be worth a lot of money. Who gets that? Is there a way to put it on their trust or beneficiaries, whatever, Now, last call to action, 48-hour challenge. All right, so establish your estate or business contact attorney. If you don't have one, I'd be happy to provide one for you. Okay, depending on what state you're in, I don't know if they run in all states, but I'd be happy to do my best to put you in touch with one, because it's better to have it than not have it. What's the old saying? It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Wise words to live by. Add or update POD, TOD. Make sure you have them. If you haven't touched it in months, years, and the person that's on your account is no longer here, it needs to be updated. Create or update your will and trust. Again, if you have bought anything, if you have sold anything, if you've moved, if you created a business, if you sold a business, if the person who was your successor trustee is no longer here, if the person that is your successor trustee that you've talked to doesn't want to do that, get a new one, create one, update it, whatever. Update that thing on a regular basis. Because at some point your life is going to change one way or another, and the instructions need to be changed appropriately. Discuss your plan with key people. They don't have to know what you're doing. Ideally, yes, but they don't have to if you don't want them to. They just need to know what to do when something happens. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Just to take a step back, if you are registered in the state, say California, or the lady I talked to was in North Carolina, and you don't want to, let's say, because I just looked this up, and this is crazy. You want to register in another state, or you have a rental property, let's say in another state, and you want to register that business in that state, you now have multiple states that you have to close out your business. And typically each state has an annual fee. I think North Carolina, their annual fee was $200. Again, California's $800. If you register in another state, let's say Delaware, for example, and I run my business here in California, I actually have to register for a non-resident business license. It says, yeah, I'm doing business here too as well, so I need the permission to actually run my business in your state. That's the correct way to do it, because if you don't and you're caught, it is not a good thing. Set up the what if I'm gone snapshot. Again, doesn't have to be complicated. List of instructions. One page it. Whatever. If your business is complicated, it's going to be a little bit more, thorough, intense. Maybe a little bit more complicated. Hopefully, you're doing business in a way that it would be easy for them to close out, pick up, whatever it is. Or doing business with somebody that knows what you're doing. Instead of someone walking in completely blind other than a sheet of paper with 1, 2, 3 through 10 steps, and that's all they know. What's your first move and why? And then, as I put on my Facebook page, which you should be seeing with this as well, if not following along at home, number 6, section 6, what if I'm gone, business snapshot. This is, you can think of it as the beginning of your continuity plan, rather. Name, tax ID, business name, tax ID number, EIN number, social security number, typically if you're a sole prop, main bank account or accounts, monthly revenue expenses, payroll provider, business software logins, immediate successors, special instructions. A lot of this you can line up on an Excel file, right? If you have a QuickBooks, pretty easy to get on there as well. But it could be the beginning of making things simple, not just for you, but for whoever has to take over after you to either maintain the business until you get better and come back or close it out. Because the last thing you want to do as a business owner is add more burdens or frustrations to those that you love with something that you've poured a lot of love into. And if you don't have the plans in place, strategies in place, that is what you're doing. This has been fun. Guys, hope you're doing well. It's always good to see you. It's always good to talk to you. I hope this has opened up a couple of ideas and options. Feel free to come to me. Give me a call. Come to my website. Book an appointment is probably the best way to do it. See me on Instagram as well. But until then, I wish you the best. God bless you. Big hugs.